Coming up on Retiring Today, Social Security and your retirement plan.
You may have up to 81 different options to choose from. How do you know which one to choose?
We'll go through some real life examples right now on Retiring Today. Welcome to Retiring Today. In this episode, we'll cover Social Security and how it fits into your retirement plan. I'm here with Loren Merkle. He's a certified financial planner. And Loren, you sit down with families and individuals who are 10 years or fewer out from retirement. And Social Security is a big part of that income piece, but it can be more overwhelming than people might think.
Social Security is actually one of the most overlooked or underanalyzed pieces of most retirees' income. Because most people, for all these years as they're coming up into retirement, they get these statements in the mail. Not so much recently over the last 5 years because they changed who they send them to, but the last 10 years prior to that, and 20 years and 30 years, you get this Social Security statement every single year, and it shows you have a benefit at age 62, age 66, and then age 70. So many people think you have maybe 3 different options as it relates to your Social Security benefit. But as we mentioned in the beginning of the show, that's not necessarily true. You have up to 81 different combination options. So now the question is how do you weed through all these different 81 options, and how do you determine which combination strategy is the most meaningful to you, not only at point of retirement, but also down the line?
And it's kind of interesting to get a little bit of context when it comes to Social Security and when this kind of first became a sort of a government benefit, 1935. And what was the first intention of Social Security?
Well, 1935 is when the first legislation was introduced. 1937, the very first lump sum Social Security check was paid. Any guesses on how much? 1937. Going way back.
$10, $5.
17 cents.
Oh, geez.
17 cents was the very first check. 1940 is when the very first annuity payment started, which was about $25. And Social Security was never designed to last your entire retirement. It was never designed to last 30 years in retirement, let's put it this way. The average mortality in 1940 was 60 for men and 64 for women. If you're going to elect Social Security benefits today, your very first age of eligibility is age 62. You can start electing benefits at 62. In 1940, when Social Security started, your very first age of eligibility was 65.
So a lot of people didn't even make it to Social Security age.
Social Security was not designed to pay people for 30 years in retirement. Now, it's not all that uncommon for people to last 20, 30 years into their retirement. So there's had to be a lot of changes from 1940 when that first annuity check went out, and there will continue to be changes. The most recent big change was in 2016, and we'll highlight a few of those changes throughout the course of the show, but these changes need to be adjusted for within your overall retirement plan, because these changes that have happened probably affected you. The changes that may happen will probably affect you in some degree as well.
Okay, and as we continue kind of walk through what Social Security is, a little bit about the history, it might be beneficial to kind of tell people how it's calculated.
What Social Security does is they use the top 35 wage earning years, which is different than most pensions. Most corporate pensions will use the top 3, will use the top 5 or an average of those 5. Social Security uses the top 35 years. So part of the calculation of when do you take your benefits, how much are you going to receive might be if you don't have 35 wage earning years and you have some zeros, maybe you work an extra year. Maybe you work an extra year and a half, and then you can eliminate some of those zeros or early on lower wages, and that can boost up your benefits. But so they use the top 35, they average that out, and then that's going to largely determine what your benefit is.
Okay, cost of living or COLA, cost of living adjustment, is something we hear when it comes to Social Security. What's important?
Social Security from a pension standpoint is rather unique because it does have a cost of living adjustment. Historically, it's averaged about 2.5%, but if we just look back this last 10 years, there was 4 or 5 years that people received a 0% cost of living adjustment. So you don't receive one every single year. And the other thing to know about the cost of living adjustment is it does not keep pace with our real life inflation, because most of the people who are on Social Security are also on Medicare, which means that your Medicare payments come direct from the payments from Social Security that you receive. So if your Social Security goes up because of the cost of living adjustment, most of the time your Medicare premiums are going to go up as well. So it will consume all of or a piece of the increase in payments that you receive from Social Security. So it's not going to necessarily keep track with inflation because the cost of your Medicare payments will increase and consume most of or all of that increase.
Full retirement age, that's probably a term we should go over as well.
Well, the full retirement age, there's a lot of confusion when it comes to full retirement age because it can be different for a lot of people because it's very age dependent. And what we're showing on the screen is just a nice, simple graph of based on when you were born, what age is your full retirement age. So if you were born from 1937 or earlier, then your full retirement age is age 65. And what full retirement age means is that's when you can collect your full benefit. You're not receiving a reduced benefit. But as you can see, as you were born later, then your full retirement age does increase. So we go to people who were born between 1943 to 1954, your full retirement age is age 66. 1955, 66 and 2 months. And you can see how it just increases a couple months with each year. And eventually, 1960 and beyond, your full retirement age is age 67. So people are talking about these changes, these modifications that can take place in Social Security legislation. This has been and will continue to be one of those areas where they make modifications. So people who were born maybe 1970 and later, they might increase theirs all the way out to age 70. Right? I mean, they can do pretty much what they want to with this, but these are some of the things they're talking about. These are some of the things that we are keeping an eye on to see how it might impact your plan.
Okay, and spousal benefits.
Spousal benefits, I referenced the 2016 change. This was a change that took place that impacts many, many people, and there's a lot of confusion around the impact that it had. Because one of the changes that it made was spousal benefits were nearly eliminated for a big demographic. But there are some spousal benefits that still exist. So let me give you an example of a spousal benefit that may exist. So in this example, we have a married couple, they're John and Jane. John's primary insurance amount, which is his full retirement age benefit, is $2,000 a month. Jane's is $800 a month. So Jane takes her benefit, John takes his benefit. Jane is eligible for her benefit or up to 50% of John's primary insurance amount, whichever is greater, as a spousal benefit. So in this scenario, because Jane's benefit is less than 50% of John's primary insurance amount, she will receive an extra $200 a month of spousal benefit.
And that's while he's alive, right?
That's while he's alive. So she, in this case, even though the 2016 law change eliminated spousal benefits for many people, Jane is still eligible for a spousal benefit because of the discrepancy between John's benefit and her benefit. So when we talk about spousal benefits, sometimes people say, well, wasn't that eliminated? Didn't that go away with that last law change? Yes, for many people, but for some people like John and Jane, their spousal benefits, they're still eligible for their spousal benefit.
Okay, that did a great job of setting the stage on kind of how Social Security works. But coming up next, investment advisor Abby Hunt-Rods is coming in and we'll go through some real life scenarios on how Social Security works when Retiring Today continues.
You have worked for a long time. There are so many decisions to make about your retirement. How much income do you need? How not to run out of money? Now is your chance, and you get one shot to get it right. Attend Merkle Retirement Planning's Passport to Retirement. We will discuss how to create tax-free income, how to avoid the next market meltdown, and how to wring every dime out of Social Security. Your time is now. Classes fill quickly. Call or text today. Zero cost to attend.
You made it. Years of hard work, investing, planning, and now you're here. The long-awaited reward you spent a lifetime looking forward to. But what now? That's where we come in. We are Merkle Retirement Planning, your personal retirement planners. With our Merkle Retirement Method, we can help you reach your retirement goals. For a complimentary visit, simply contact us today.
Welcome back to Retiring Today. In this episode, we're talking about Social Security and your retirement plan. I'm here with Loren Merkle. He's a certified financial planner, and Abby Huntrod, she's an investment advisor at Merkle Retirement Planning. And Loren, Social Security, it's important. We're dedicating an entire show to it, but really it's just one piece of retirement.
It's just one piece. It's one component of the 5 components of the Merkle retirement method. After over 20 years of helping people successfully retire, what we've done is we've taken the top concerns that pre-retirees and retirees have and the top objectives of what they're trying to accomplish, and we've boiled that down into the Merkle retirement method, which consists of the 5 main components. And today's focus is going to be on the income component, and Social Security is a big piece of most retirees' income component because it represents anywhere between 30 to 40% of their retirement income. So it's all about how do you use the 81 different options to your benefit to get the most out of Social Security, because it is one of the few pensions that is still remaining for retirees.
Yeah, so people at home are probably going, Loren, how do I get the most out of Social Security?
Yeah, what's important is you do the analysis. You need to do the custom analysis specific to your situation to help narrow down, of all the 81 different options that you do have, which is going to be the most pertinent to you. The prevailing thought a couple years ago, Abby, you probably remember this, is a lot of the pundits, a lot of experts, they were saying, take the benefit as soon as you possibly can. Social Security's going broke.
Yeah.
You don't know how long you're going to live. You just need to take it while you can get it. Well, what pundits and experts are saying now is you get an 8% guarantee from full retirement age all the way up until age 70, 8% per year. Banks are paying us virtually nothing. So 8% on guaranteed lifetime money, that is a steal. Take advantage of it. So they're saying delay, delay, delay all the way until age 70. What we advocate for is to do that analysis, and we're going to spell out in a couple different examples what that analysis might look like and the results that analysis could produce for you.
Okay, so that first kind of example, we've got Keith and Carol. What's their story?
All right, with Keith and Carol, there's a couple assumptions we're using. First is the mortality assumption. And Keith is going to pass away at age 86, and Carol's going to pass away at age 89. So obviously, if they live longer, the numbers are going to be bigger. If they don't make it that well, the number's going to be smaller.
And it's probably worth noting those two numbers are the average life expectancy right now, correct?
That's exactly correct.
Okay.
All right, so Keith is 64 and retired. Carol's 62. She's going to retire in just 3 short years at age 65. They have a combined portfolio value of just over $800,000, and their living expenses to maintain their lifestyle is about $6,000 a month. Now, from a Social Security standpoint, Keith and Carol decided, based on all the options they have, Keith has the higher lifetime benefit. So they're going to maximize his benefit for the survivorship aspect, meaning that if Carol passes away, Keith is receiving his highest lifetime benefit. If Keith passes away before Carol, Carol's going to shift from her smaller benefit up to Keith's maximum benefit. So throughout these 4 different examples, Keith is going to file for his benefit at the age 70. If we look at what their portfolio value is, remember they start with over $800,000, they have their pension income, their Social Security income. If we look at their ending portfolio value based on these assumptions, at age 100, then if Carol takes her benefit at 65, the ending portfolio value is about $1.3 million. If Carol just waits 1 more year, takes her benefit at age 66, then the portfolio value drops down, you can see, to about $1.27 million. And if she waits 1 more year till age 67, about just over 1.2. And if she extends all the way out just like Keith and maximizes it all the way at age 70, $1.1 million. So basically, Carol taking hers at 65 versus waiting all the way until age 70 reduces their total portfolio value, which for Keith and Carol, they're looking at that as their legacy. The 1.3 million or that's their legacy that they're going to transition to the next generation is $200,000 less if Carol followed the predominant advice now, which is wait all the way until 70. And the biggest reason why there's that difference is because one of their benefits, and in this case it's going to be Carol's benefit, they're only going to use until one of them passes away. and then her benefit gets wiped off the table because the survivor will be taking Keith's benefit. So Keith will stay on his benefit, or he passes first, he'll move to, so Carol's benefit is going to be eliminated upon one of them passing away, and that's the difference between those Social Security strategies.
Okay, so there's one example. And Abby, you were talking about kind of a powerful example, a woman you met with, and really it was kind of a life-changing moment that you had in a meeting with her.
Yeah, I sat down with one of our newer clients recently, and she was sharing with me that she was really hoping to cut back to part-time work. She had a new grandbaby, and she really wanted more time to spend with him. So we were talking through that conversation a little bit, and in that conversation discovered she was actually eligible for a survivorship benefit that she thought she had lost. So her story was she'd been married earlier on in life and widowed. And then she remarried, but that second marriage ended in divorce. So she thought because she'd been remarried prior to the age of 60, she lost that first marriage's survivorship benefit, which is accurate. If you remarry before the age of 60, then you do lose the ability to draw off of any prior marriages for survivorship or spousal benefits. However, because that second marriage didn't last and she actually ended up divorced, now that widow benefit was back on the table for her. So we talked about, different cash flow needs, plug those numbers into her plan, and we're able to make it work for her so that she was able to cut back to part-time at 60, because with survivorship benefits, you're eligible at 60 instead of 62. And then her benefit, her primary benefit will continue to grow by the 8% all the way to age 70. So not only are we maximizing her primary benefit, but we also allowed her to retire part-time retire a little bit earlier than she thought she could, so that she could hang out with those grandbabies.
More time with the that had to be a fun conversation. Yeah. I mean, on the fun side of that to have with her. So that's really powerful. And Social Security can be powerful if you sit down with a financial person and talk about it and go through all of these options. So we're going to continue to do that on this show. But first, we want to share with you some of the questions that we get here at Merkle Retirement Planning. So here's one that came into the offices. It was George from Norwalk, and George asked the question that we've heard here a lot of times: will the Social Security reserves become bankrupt? There's a number on your screen. If you'd like to see a question answered here on the show, you can go ahead and text that question to that number on your screen. We will answer George's question when Retiring Today continues.
You have worked for a long time. There are so many decisions to make about your retirement. How much income do you need? How not to run out of money? Now is your chance, and you get one shot to get it right. Attend Merkle Retirement Planning's Passport to Retirement. We will discuss how to create tax-free income, how to avoid the next market meltdown, and how to wring every dime out of Social Security. Your time is now. Classes fill quickly. Call or text today. Zero cost to attend.
It's your retirement. How will you live it? How will you be remembered?
Will you be able to take me on vacation?
Will you be there for my ball games?
Will you teach me your values? You'll be able to play with me.
Oh, help me go to college. How will I remember you?
Have the retirement you dream about. Contact us today.
Welcome back to Retiring Today. Before the break, we talked about a question we got from a viewer. It was George in Norwalk, and George in Norwalk asked, will the Social Security reserves become bankrupt? Just a reminder, if you have a question you'd like to see answered on the show, there is a number. It's on your screen right now. You can text your question to that number. Now, Loren, this is something I think people ask you a lot. What's your opinion on this one? Will Social Security reserves become bankrupt or solvent? You hear that term used sometimes too.
Yeah, well, let's be clear. This is my opinion on this.
Disclaimer, we put a little asterisk here. Yes,
because,
of course.
Because nobody can tell what legislative acts are going to take place, because that's all done by Congress. But my thought on whether or not Social Security is going to go broke is not for pre-retirees, not for retirees today. I really feel like it's going to be there in a very substantial form based on the promises that were made. Are there going to continue to be changes? Yes. Will those changes impact retirees and pre-retirees? Maybe, but I think by far and large, the promises that have been made from the Social Security Administration will be there for you. For my daughter, who is age 7, Social Security is going to look completely different. For us, Molly, me and you, Social Security might look completely different.
We're so far away from it, you know.
But this is a question that we've been getting recently because they just recently came out with a new study, the government did. And the study says that Social Security benefits, if there's not substantial changes within legislation, will be reduced by the year 2035. So that has been the headline on the news and with different articles that have been written, so a lot of people are worried about it. A couple years ago, they did the same study, and the results of that study was it's going to be reduced by 2034. Right, so at least it's going in the right direction, it's going out. But no, there's going to have to be some changes, and the most important aspect when it comes to these type of legislative changes is make sure you have your written comprehensive plan. Because whether they're changing Social Security law like they've always done, or they're changing tax law or any type of change that takes place within your life that impacts your plan, if you already have that written document, it's much easier to just make changes than to start trying to construct this document from scratch when something as big as that does change. So it's a great time, if you haven't already developed that written comprehensive plan, get started, George, and then any of these changes that may come down the line, you'll be much better equipped to handle the changes.
Okay, so we discussed in this show today Social Security and how it fits into your retirement plan. Loren, what else are your takeaways from today's episode?
Well, I think Abby's story was very meaningful, and Molly, you kind of set up that story with how life-changing these types of things can really be. Social Security is one of the most misunderstood benefits, and it's one of the most powerful income benefits that most Americans have. So we cannot neglect the proper analysis that needs to be done with Social Security. Now you know you have up to 81 different options. So one takeaway is review all those 81 different options to make sure you're making the best decision you possibly can with this lifetime benefit. The second takeaway is don't assume that just the age 70 benefit is your best option because that's what you hear at the water cooler or because that's the latest article from Susie Orman that you read. What you need to do, again, is do the analysis that's necessary and then make the customized decision that's best and most appropriate for you. There was changes that took place in 2016. The spousal benefit is not necessarily eliminated for everybody. It has been eliminated for a few people. So don't just assume based on the 2016 change that all those options are off the table for you. Again, that analysis is the most important part of it.
We talk about Social Security being just one piece of the retirement puzzle. You go over a lot of the other pieces of the retirement plan at the Passport to Retirement classes. Tell people what those are and how they can get signed up if they're interested.
Yeah, there's 5 main components that go into the Merkle retirement method. The first piece is the income piece, which we focused on the Social Security part of that today. We do cover that heavily in the class as well. So if you're watching the show today and you have more questions on Social Security, number one, that's a good thing, because there's a lot more to be said about Social Security. We cover that in the class. Number 2 is taxes. When you take income, you're gonna have to pay taxes. You paid a ton of taxes over your career already, but in retirement, you have more control over the level of tax you pay if you do the tax planning, if you incorporate tax planning. Long-term care, health care, big risks, big concerns for most retirees today. We address that. Legacy planning. When you pass away, whatever's left over, you want that to transition to your charities, your loved ones in the most efficient way, so that's a big part of the plan. And then finally, the investment planning piece. With the investment piece, one of the biggest concerns that people have is this next recession. When it hits, how will it impact your life savings? Is it gonna make your life savings depreciate by 30 to 50%, or are you gonna be able to weather the storm? All of those components is what we address within this Passport class. And believe it or not, Molly, it only takes us about 2.5 hours to get through that.
2.5 hours of really good information. Okay, so you've probably piqued the interest of a few people watching or lots of people watching. What should they do if they'd like to learn more?
This is very simple. All you have to do is pick up your cell phone and text the word passport to the number that you see on the screen, and then a team member will reach out to you shortly and you can reserve your spot at the next Passport to Retirement class.
And the classes are free. They're about 2.5 hours long. They're held in several locations around the central part of our state. And Loren, who is a good candidate to come to a class?
People who find the most benefit from the Passport to Retirement class are usually within 10 years of retiring or already retired. They understand the value of having a written comprehensive retirement plan, and they're just curious about more of the components and the pieces and the things that they have never yet discovered and how to build that retirement class.
And I know it's important to you after you hold these classes, you and your team want feedback. You want people to say, what'd you like, what didn't you like? So tell me, what do people say is something that they really value from the class?
Well, one piece of feedback we receive after the class is, I feel more confused now than prior to the class, which on the surface doesn't seem like a great thing, but we love that because that means they're paying attention, they're listening. You think about 2.5 hours of just financial talk. To some people, that seems like torture. And I think to some people prior to going to the class, that seems that they're kind of unsure about what but after the class, you're like, wow, that went fast. In fact, we always do a survey, and 80% of people who attend the class say that the class is too short. They want more.
When it comes to your retirement, if you're thinking about the next 30 years of your life, yes, sitting down and talking about something feels boring, but it's really important. I mean, it's an important conversation to have.
It's boring if it's the information that's not pertinent to you. But that's exactly it, is people feel like this information is vital to helping them achieve their success, the goals that they have set forth in retirement, and help them be on a more successful path.
Yeah, and you go through a booklet like the one right here on the table.
We do provide this as a part of that class. It's about 130 pages, and it just gives you some additional insight. We do not cover this page by page in the class. A lot of the concepts, a lot of the topics that we cover are outlined in this book, but it's just an additional resource to help you on your journey.
And if coming to a class isn't really something you're interested, it's also a great idea to just text the word visit to the number on your screen, and then someone from the team will reach out to you about setting up a time that you can come in and meet. And Loren, that first visit here in the office, what does it look like?
Well, the first visit just to get to know you, what your concerns are, what you're thinking about, and to see if there's any way we can help you on your journey to retirement, and if it makes sense for us to work together to build that Merkle retirement method. And we don't charge anything for the first visit either.
And it's a great place to start. Another place to get a lot of information, of course, is this show. It's Retiring Today with Loren Merkle, and we thank you for watching.
You have worked for a long time. There are so many decisions to make about your retirement. How much income do you need? How not to run out of money? Now is your chance, and you get one shot to get it right. Attend Merkle Retirement Planning's Passport to Retirement. We will discuss how to create tax-free income, how to avoid the next market meltdown, and how to wring every dime out of Social Security. Your time is now. Classes fill quickly. Call or text today. Zero cost to attend.
From our family to yours, we hope you have a wonderful weekend.
We hope you enjoy the show.
Dinner break.